expected to come out.
Prince Andrew and the former President Bill Clinton have been named.
They will contain the names of people associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein was a man who built a life around power, wealth, and connections to some of the most influential people on the planet. Presidents, princes, billionaires, scientists, celebrities. But behind the polished image of a financier and philanthropist was something far darker, a web of abuse, manipulation, and unanswered questions that continue to spark outrage years after his death. How did a college dropout with no formal financial credentials rise to become one of the most connected men in elite circles? How did he avoid serious consequences for years, and why does his story still feel unfinished? This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein, Chapter 1, The Rise of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, to a working-class family. By most accounts, his early life was relatively unremarkable. He attended college but never completed a degree. Yet somehow, in the 1970s, he landed a teaching job at the prestigious Dalton School in Manhattan. There he began forming connections with wealthy families. After leaving teaching, Epstein entered the world of finance. He worked briefly at Bear Stearns before striking out on his own, marketing himself as a financial consultant to ultra-wealthy clients. What made him different wasn't just financial advice, it was access. Epstein cultivated relationships. He built trust. He created an aura of exclusivity. By the 1990s, he had multiple luxury homes, a Manhattan mansion reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars, private island in the US, Virgin Islands properties in Palm Beach, New Mexico, and Paris. He traveled in private jets. He hosted lavish gatherings. His guest lists included powerful figures across politics, academia, royalty, and business. But behind closed doors, something else was happening. Chapter 2, The Abuse Allegations. In the early 2000s, reports began surfacing in Palm Beach, Florida. Multiple teenage girls, some as young as 14, accused Epstein of paying them for massages that turned sexual. Investigators later alleged this was not isolated behavior, but part of a systematic pattern of grooming and abuse. The allegations described recruiting underage girls, paying them cash, encouraging them to bring friends, using wealth and intimidation to silence victims. In 2005, a parent reported Epstein to police. An investigation followed, and evidence reportedly pointed to dozens of potential victims. But what happened next would become one of the most controversial legal outcomes in modern criminal justice history. Chapter 3, The 2008 Plea Deal. In 2008, Epstein reached a secretive non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors. Instead of facing federal sex trafficking charges, which could have led to life in prison, Epstein pleaded guilty in Florida state court to 2 charges related to prostitution. He served 13 months in county jail. But even that sentence raised eyebrows. Epstein was reportedly allowed to leave jail for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, under a work release program. He served much of his time in a private wing of the facility. Perhaps most controversial, the agreement reportedly granted immunity to unnamed co-conspirators. Many victims later said they were not informed about the deal beforehand, a violation of victims' rights laws. According to later court findings, the case sparked outrage. Critics argued that wealth and influence had shielded Epstein from meaningful accountability. But the story was far from over, and public backlash after his release in 2009.
I was unaware that I was going to be alone with him. I thought I was going to die.
Epstein largely returned to his lifestyle. He maintained connections with high-profile individuals. He donated to universities. He hosted gatherings at his properties. However, investigative journalism began digging deeper. In 2018, a series of reports reignited national attention on the case. Journalists uncovered details about the 2008 plea deal and the scope of the alleged abuse. Public pressure mounted, and in July 2019, federal authorities arrested Jeffrey Epstein at a New Jersey airport. This time, the charges were federal. The 2019 arrest Epstein was charged with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy. Prosecutors alleged he operated a sex trafficking ring from at least 2002 to 2005. Court documents described a network in which young girls were recruited, transported, and exploited at multiple properties. Federal investigators reportedly discovered large amounts of cash, diamonds, and CDs labeled in suspicious ways during a search of his Manhattan mansion. Epstein pleaded not guilty. He was denied bail and held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The trial never happened. The death of Jeffrey Epstein. On August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive in his jail cell. He was later pronounced dead. The official ruling by the New York City medical examiner was suicide by hanging, but the circumstances surrounding his death fueled massive public skepticism. Reports revealed Epstein had previously been found injured in his cell weeks earlier. He was reportedly not under suicide watch at the time of his death. Security cameras near his cell malfunctioned. Guards assigned to monitor him allegedly failed to conduct regular checks. The two correctional officers were later charged with falsifying records. They admitted to neglecting duties and entered into a deferred prosecution agreement. Despite the official ruling of suicide, polls have consistently shown that many Americans believe there was more to the story. Epstein's death meant there would be no public trial, no full courtroom testimony, no cross-examination, no complete accounting of his network. For many victims, it felt like justice was interrupted. It's about how victims can be ignored and what happens when they refuse to stay silent. His death closed one chapter, but it didn't end the conversation. The Epstein case remains a symbol of secrecy, corruption, institutional failure, and the ongoing fight for justice. And for many people, the real story isn't about how he lived. It's about how he was allowed to operate for so long. Call to action. If you found this breakdown helpful, consider subscribing for more deep dive investigations into complex stories that shaped our world. And let me know in the comments what part of this case do you think deserves more scrutiny. Thanks for watching.